Another topic this week I actually really wanted to discuss, mainly because it's just really weird how this art kind of was set up and then played out without them, is where exactly are Selene and Diablos? Because we had the arc begin, and they were set off to go find Athena and find information on Athena. So the idea was at some point they were going to show up within the Gold Owl arc. My idea was that going to be at the start, maybe Viernes and Selene were going to have to fight, where she was going to less so like fighting him, but more so trying to hold him off. And we had Diabolos's members fight, but say like we had, oh well, because Viernes doesn't need actual characters, he can just create exact one-for-ones of them through conceptual embodiments. He could have made a Georg and then had the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights fight him. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. The question is, when is something like that going to happen? But that ended up not happening. And because of that, it makes me wonder, where exactly are they? What exactly is going on with them? Like, them as characters, I've already expressed I really like Diabolos. I really like Selene in general. So seeing them again is high up on my priority list. I've really liked the fact when I kept saying it, they aren't an evil guild. It was more of a misunderstanding. And what did we end up getting? It was more that they thought Fairy Tail kept screwing with them, so they were going to be, attack on sight. And because of that, with Fairy Tail, they were essentially going to be in this kind of continuous back and forth of brawling whenever they get the chance. And then we had an actual come to conclusion between them with Natsu and Suzaku. So at this point, it makes me wonder, what exactly is keeping them hold up? Are we going to have, us meet back with them, the main cast meet up with them going into the Igni arc? Are they going to be more so like we went to go find Athena, but we found out that Athena had already been, Athena's information already was pretty much taken care of, and we ended up coming across something entirely different? Are we going to have something where Ignia just pops in and has fought all of them? I think it'd be pretty brutal, because it'd be like, well, who exactly amongst them is left then if Mishima was gonna just off some of the Diabolos members? It would probably be pretty much everybody but, I would guess, Suzaku, Haku, and Kirin, maybe, just because Suzaku is very clearly the fan favorite out of the Diablo squad. I doubt Selene would get saved from the end of the Dogre Labyrinth just to get killed again. Haku just with Wendy. I feel like those jokes are just going to return at some point, his goofy ass, because the comic characters are always going to be amongst Mishima's favorites, and it seems like Haku was more so switched out than over Mad Mole, because Mad Mole didn't get like any jokes all of the Dogre Labyrinth, so I'm guessing it'll be more fun to kind of do goofy stuff with this overly powerful child rather than this like monk with very hard durability. And then Kirin, because he's a Laxus adversary, so I feel like it'd be beneficial to hold him over. Like, I wouldn't want Kirin killed off unless he's like has some form of cool like pass the baton to Laxus, kind of like what Laxus did with Natsu on Sirius Island. Something like that I feel like would be required. But I'm just curious as to what exactly is holding these guys up. Well, what are they doing that is preventing them from returning? Because not only are they like one of the most powerful squads on the entire planet, but Selene is with them. So Selene gives them the full access to freely travel anywhere with no real travel time whatsoever. I feel like something has to really have happened in order for them to be stalled. I think that's the easiest way to say it. Really just stalled out, and them being almost lost. Them kind of just being in a complete unknown state right now. So unless it's Ignia or Ignia's squad that has now jumped them, and they're going to be either in the middle of a fight next time we see them, or recovering from a fight. Because the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights are definitely like, that's the big meat besides Selene. And then other characters, Skolnion, Mad Mole, Kyria, they're obviously capable, but they're not going to be nearly as much of a... Like, any fight where the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights are being pressed to where all of them are occupied, I would imagine that the other three members of Diablos are going to be more so... I know there's like those random characters we saw when they were having their dinner with Fairy Tail, but I don't imagine they're going to be as relevant here. But any fight where the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights are getting either pressed or in any way that they're not just running over their opponents. I imagine anybody even somewhat of a contender to them, the like original 3 members of Diabolos are going to be in a lot of trouble, to where at best they're going to be able to be support. That including my guy Scolion, who decided to get some cool new black cape right before heading out, and then just to not see him for what, another like, it's been over a year. So that's just crazy to think about. It's been over a year since we saw them really active. And I don't think Mishima would have them on a set goal and then that goal be intertwined with what is going on with the Fairy Tail main cast and not be acknowledged unless they just never return. But I don't think that's gonna happen, because I don't think it would make sense with Selene being there. Because like Fairy Tail crew said they're gonna go find Viernes and Ignia, and it's like, well, so Athena was over there with them, so I would imagine whatever time that they get to finding out, to where it'd be like, oh, we found where Athena would be, but in the process of that some other thing came up and now we know something even more dangerous. I think personally, whenever we get back to them, it's going to reveal something about Eleftheria. I still really find Eleftheria very troubling and very suspicious, because if you reread the Gold Owl arc, there's the fact that he says he's never met Athena, but then we see he has met Athena, and he said Duke was dead. Duke was clearly not dead. If Duke was clearly alive, what reason did he not talk to Eleftheria? There has to be reasoning to why Eleftheria, like every time he gives us information and talks to us, it seems to be very vague and intentionally misleading. And like there's even the fact that it's like, oh, well, the reward for the 100 Years quest is a wish. I feel like that's one of those things where it's so over the top, where it sounds very fantasy heavy, but it's more so because when you're this kind of powerful dragon, most people would probably take your word for it. But it seems he's more so, I think, just kind of playing, and he's just getting people strung along the idea, less so than actually being able to do it. So with him, because like it makes sense, it's like you have this horrible, like dangerous quest that most people aren't going to want to do, but have this ultimate reward, a wish, is going to completely cloud their mentality for it. So my always belief is that he's lying just to put people to risk their lives and go out on a 100 Years quest, seeing if they're capable or getting any information from viewing them that will eventually pay off. And then we see at the end of the arc 2, Athena is with Eleftheria. So I just feel like that is something, again, that's going to come back to be all part of his plan and to be something that he has been scheming up. There's another thing that I got to talk about in another video. I'll probably do that maybe like sometime later this week, maybe next week, probably next week, just because I feel like it'll make more sense for me to kind of like really kind of stew over this a little bit. I want to look back at a couple more Eleftheria scenes to see exactly if there's anything I might miss if I do it realistically soon. But I still think that there's something suspicious with him and Georg, because all of Diablos seem to be a complete misdirection in how you're supposed to view them. But he's like, oh yeah, Georg is this very brutish man who just kind of ignores rules and just does whatever he wants in pursuit of the quest. And I think that he was even fine with like being like, well, I know that they're also doing the quest, so it's like you guys are now competing for it. And I just feel like with him, he just doesn't seem to have any almost integrity towards the 100 Years quest of himself. He seems more about like, I just want to get it done, I don't really care. But with Georg, I think that he was lying about Georg just to kind of build an idea of, yeah, don't dig into this, don't look into this. There's a guy, if you go back and look at the chapter where we're finding out about him forming the guild for Magi Dragon, and there's the guy who comes back after encountering a dragon and he's hurt, and he's saying that 2 of their friends ended up dying, and he looks very suspiciously like Georg. If you, not like Georg in full, if you take that guy, put a picture of Georg when we saw him 30 years prior to the main story when Kieran was a kid, and then compare him next to the Georg that we saw at the time when he was introduced, you can see a very clear possibility that those characters are set. Because you even see him with similar bandages once we see him in the Kieran flashback. and he has hair that looks like logically at this younger stage would grow into this middle one and then eventually the one that we saw. So I just feel like there's some suspicions there and something that makes it so like he has to have something going on, that I wouldn't be surprised if once we saw him next there might be again a little bit of a, do we know enough about him? Is he telling us everything? Because we still don't know really much about Rebellious. And it wouldn't surprise me if this was something he set up, and maybe that'll be the thing, is once Selene and co go and investigate Rebellious, they find out something odd about the whole information and setup with Athena, and something that connects back to Eleftheria. I still think that he's a liar, and there's things about him that are going to come to light soon enough. So that's mostly it in terms of that. I really just think that Selene and Diabolos are going to really bring some important information upon their return. Because if it was something like, oh, we met a dead end, they're just going to teleport back. Like maybe we'll find out they did go back to their guild, and there's going to be something that they had to get figured out over there in order to have it in in order. Like if we went back and then we see Diabolos's guild like completely ravaged, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think that maybe that's why Mishima had us see a lot of just side members, like unnamed members of Diablos, just existing once we had that feast between the Fairy Tail and Diablos like head members. So like if we come back and we see a bunch of their members dead, it would be like you would already know, okay, these characters existed, instead of just like inventing characters at that exact time to die. Because now when you think about it, Eleftheria has a super dragon slaying weapon, and Diablos has pretty much all of their big fighters not at their guild, and Eleftheria knows that. So we'll see exactly where that all plays out. Like I just don't believe that there isn't some form of big thing that's going to happen once we see them again, and some form of information that's kind of going to be like, oh yeah, this is why they weren't in the last arc and why they didn't show up to do something with Athena. Anyway, other than that, comment below, tell me where you think this is all going to go, and what reason do you think we haven't seen Selene and Diabolos in this last arc when they were out searching for Athena. I know there's some people who are just going to talk shit about them, but no, their opinions aren't going to matter. I'm in to see what exactly this plot twist is going to turn. Plus, all the Diablos members are really cool. I like all of them. I actually really do. I miss Wraith, though. I wish he didn't die, but I'm fine with him being dead. Nibaru, actually, side note, where is he? He should have his magic back by now, if in theory. Anyway, other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.